Okay, so we'll start up chapter 4 here. Chapter 4 is going to be all about like creating variables. In chapter 5, I think we'll start doing some calculations, but for right now, we're just going to show what it means to create and assign a variable in Java. So we need to always declare variable types at the beginning. So whenever we start working with a variable, we need to tell like what type of thing is it. And then once it's been assigned, we can't change the variable type. So like if you make something a number, we can't later change it to a string. Yeah, so if we have a variable number and it's going to be stores like integer, stores whole numbers, we can't later change that to be a string variable. Yeah, so they're strongly stuck in one type. Also, especially for new coders, variable names should describe the variable. So don't just, this is not math class, you don't need to just type X. Don't just type a random letter in there. It should have a very I'm going to leave you for this vocabulary. It's really important. The string is like a collection of letters. Integer is a whole number. A double is a number that has decimals. Booleans are a true or false value. And then this is not a variable type, but it's just an important word in there to declare. So we declare when we create a variable. I'm not going to go through all of this. There is another video on here from a different teacher YouTube videos that I've collected. Yeah, so we've talked about this a lot. So this is defining a variable. This is declaring a variable. We are setting up a variable called months. It's of a type integer, and it's going to be equal to 12 to begin with. So that's just like, yeah, how many months in a year, I guess. So an integer, the important thing about an integer is that it's a whole number. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Any of those numbers are fine. As soon as it gets into decimals, it's not going to keep track of that. Some other things in here, I mean, we can look through these, and this is a string variable, this is integer, double variable, Boolean variable, all these different types of variables. And we'll get into actually applying them very shortly. So, and this is the part that we were talking about earlier. We can't change the value, we can't change the type of a variable. Like if we declare this text to be a string, we can't change it to, we can't change it into a number later. We could change it into, maybe it's a little bit complicated, so we can't do this. We can't say text is equal to 42, but we could actually type in this, text is equal to quotations 42, because now 42 isn't a number, really. It's more of like a word, like it's a set of strings. So, and the difference here is like, if we have 42 in here, we can't add or subtract or do anything to it. It's not a number anymore. It's become like a set of letters rather than numbers that can be manipulated. So these two are actually very different calls. This is making a string, like the 42nd president or something like that. 42, this is a word, this is a number. We can change text to be equal to, quotation 42, because this is still a string. It's still a set of text. But I can't manipulate it. I feel like I'm repeating myself. But yeah, we can change these two. But yeah. So these are some other examples of this. I tried to include just other videos. I really like this person's YouTube channel. You can click on the link and it should take you to the YouTube channel. I really like this person's work because it's very casual conversation, and also it's very short and to the point. Like his videos are like 5 minutes long, which I like to make mine like that too. So this is just going to be manipulating. This is an exercise, so you need to find your TMC. It's just going to be changing the values of some variables. Last, and I think this is the most important point maybe for this, one of the most important points is that do not, I already said it, but do not put in random names for your variables. If you are keeping track of names, make a variable called names. If you're keeping track of days of the week, make up a variable called days of the week. Don't just make a variable for days of the week called D, because that's not going to be descriptive. And if somebody else comes back in and looks at your work later, for example me, they don't know what the D stands for. Like they're not able to keep track of what that means in your code. So don't be lazy. Make variable names that are descriptive. Also, camel case notation. So this is, and as I say here, this is a convention in coding. It's not like something that's like, if you don't type this way, the computer's not going to understand. But basically the camel case just looks like, if we're going to say something like days of the week, like I want to make an integer called days of the week. Well, days of the week is, well, days of the week Days of the week. So there's 4 words in there. What we're going to do is we'll lowercase the first one, and then we'll make so days, all lowercase, and then we get to the next word of, we're going to capitalize the first letter. We're going to capitalize the first letter, not the rest, and then capitalize the last letter here. So it's a very common way of defining variables. It's not like your computer's going to break if you don't do it this way, but when I look at this code later, or another person looks at this code later, they can quickly figure out what you're doing. Days of the week, okay, got it. So that's camel case notation. It's just best practices.